Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome those who are able to make it physically and online as well. My name is Colin and today is our second meetup of Christian Sport Bike Fellowship and we're going over the topic of forgiveness. So you guys know it's February. Some of you guys might need forgiveness from your girlfriends and wives because you didn't get them what they wanted for Valentine's Day. This message also applies to anyone who has been hurt before and needs forgiveness, or anyone who has hurt someone else and needs to be forgiven, so pretty much everyone. So last year, someone called the cops on me, not once, not twice, but 3 times. And it wasn't for possession of these guns, but because I was working on my car outside of my house. The first time, I was working on the street, and a cop pulls by and says, "Hey, a neighbor reported you. You're not supposed to be working on the street. You know, it's illegal. You can seep oils on the street and you shouldn't do that again." So I told the officer, "I'm sorry, it won't happen again." And then he left. And at that time, I felt really relieved because I didn't get a violation. The second time, my landlord, she likes to park her car in the driveway. So I parked my car behind it to work on my car. And then a police comes by and says, "Hey, a neighbor reported you again. You're not supposed to be blocking the sidewalk because it's a public right-of-way." And then I said, "Officer, I'm very sorry. It won't happen again." And then he left. And at that time, I was more irritated because there's this person in the neighborhood who had nothing better to do than to report me. And then the third time, I thought I got pretty smart. One of the tenants, she was washing her car in the driveway, so I thought, I can't park in the street, I can't park on the sidewalk. Why don't I park in the dirt area next to the driveway? So I was working there, and then I see this police come around the neighborhood, and I thought, I wouldn't be surprised if they're here for me. And sure enough, they parked, they walked over to me and said, "Hey, I don't have a problem with this, but one of your neighbors reported you again. You're not supposed to be working on this dirt area because you can drip oils and it kind of disrupts the environmental stuff." He said, "If you want to work on your car, work on the driveway and then have your hood facing the inside." And I said, "Officer, I'm very sorry. It won't happen again." And then he left. And by this time I was super irritated because this neighbor just kept I think this person had something out for me because my other neighbors did oil changes and the other house down there, they work on their car and they're really loud, but the cops don't come on them. So I thought this person had it out for me. And what's even worse is I got this violation, an $850 potential fine in the mail because someone reported that I was running an illegal shop in my garage, and the inspector from Daly City had to come out and check that that wasn't actually the case. At first, I was kind of flattered that someone thought with my limited tools I could run a shop, but after some time it just got really, really, really annoying. And so one day I was parked across the street and then I was putting a silencer on my exhaust, and that's just pretty much putting this tube in the tip of the exhaust and screwing it. And I had to go into my garage to grab a tool, and then this elderly lady, she walks down the street she was trying to fight me. And what she told me was "Hey, do you want me to call the cops on you again?" And I was taken aback. In my mind, I had all this pent up anger and frustration over these past few months because this lady kept calling the cops on me. And then all this feeling just built up inside. And what I told her, my response to her was, "Sorry, no, it's okay." And I felt really stupid because in my mind, I wanted to tell her "What's your problem, lady? Do you have nothing better to do than to watch people from your house? Why are you picking on me? Did I do something to offend you? You don't report my other neighbors." And I just remember there's this bush in front of our driveway. I was like peeking out, trying to see where she lived, because in my mind, she wronged me and I wanted to retaliate. I wanted to do something bad back to her. And I think that's just a natural tendency for all of us. When someone wrongs us, we want to get back at them. So I had this great idea, you know, like there's that Pringles can where you open it and a snake pops out. Yeah. Or they even get better where you can send an envelope and when you open it, like confetti pops out. But I wanted to do something like that, but worse. I wanted to borrow my neighbor's dog, collect its droppings, put it in a box, wrap the box, send it to her, so when she opens it, she would get a whiff of that smell, and then I could be laughing from a distance. But going back to hiding behind the bush, she walked around the corner and I lost sight of her, so I had to let go of that really quickly. And also, like, I was kind of raised to forgive quickly, and it reminded me, well, I'll explain it more in detail, but it reminded me of this TED Talk that I watched a few years ago. So it was actually on the topic of stress, but I think it can apply to forgiveness as well. So I'll just demonstrate it for you guys. So I have this bottle of unknown beverage, because we can't really endorse products or this video might be shut down for copyright infringement. So I've labeled it Haterade. So I have this bottle of Haterade, and the question is, how much do you think this weighs? Just wild guess.
5 fluid ounces.
5 ounces?
Maybe a little bit over a pound.
A little over a pound? Well, this is actually a trick question. It weighs enough. So this bottle of Haterade actually represents grudges and feeling like pretty much hate towards someone. So like grudges or So the longer I hold it, the heavier it feels. So putting it down is like forgiveness. So a lot of us feel like we can hold grudges towards someone or hate towards someone. We can hold it for pretty long. I can hold this for probably like a minute without any problems. But if I hold on to it for a day, a week, a month, a year, my arm will probably fall off. So the thing was like, forgive quickly. Put it down quickly. So forgive quickly. And I know that's easier said than done. I don't know what kind of hurts you guys have in your lives. There might be some people, like, you might have bad experiences with someone in elementary school, like someone stole your lunch money, or you might have been betrayed by a friend. Like, for me, I remember I bought this Pokemon booster pack, and the first 3, I got this first edition Charizard, and if you guys know Pokemon cards now, in mint condition, this thing is worth at least $10,000. So I had this friend who kind of took it from me, and I asked him, like, why'd you take this? And then his response was, here, have a Hitmonchan, and it wasn't even first edition. And if you guys know that, it's worth nothing now. It came in like, it was like a very common holographic card. It's probably worth 1 cent. So I felt really betrayed by this friend. You guys might have been cheated on by a spouse or boyfriend or girlfriend. You guys might have been abused by a family member or sexually assaulted by a stranger. I don't know what hurts you guys have gone through, and I'm not saying that it's easy to forgive, but I think part of the healing process is forgiving. And that doesn't mean that you just let go of, or let someone continue to like abuse you. If you're in a dangerous situation, by all means get out of there. But I think part of the healing process is reconciling with that feeling and then forgiving that person. And when I think about forgiveness, and what helps me forgive other people, is thinking about the ultimate forgiveness. And that's through God, the one who created you and loves you, the one that we talked about last month. So God is this righteous God, which means he's like the definition of morally good. So he placed these standards in the universe really for our own benefit. So you might have heard some like, do not envy, do not boast, do not cheat, do not steal, do not commit murder, and so on and so forth. Like, he kind of puts these in place for our own good, so we don't really hurt each other. So God is also a just God, meaning he is like a really good judge. He's fair. And if someone does a crime, they deserve to be punished. So let's say there's this guy, and he kills a kid. And during the trial, the judge says he's not guilty, he's free to roam the streets and commit more murders. So how would you guys feel? Like for me, I wouldn't be very happy. Like this guy was clearly guilty, but the judge set him free. That's not a very good judge. That's a really bad judge. And well, the Bible says that if we are angry with our brother, then we've already committed murder. And I think just all the offenses I've done towards God, let's say I do one offense towards God every day. For 80 years, if I live that long, I'm going to have around 30,000 offenses. So when I pass away and I see God, he's going to judge me for everything I've done good and everything I've done bad. And because God is so pure and I'm not, he can't be associated with people that are impure. And that means pretty much eternal separation from him. And that, it kind of sucks, but that actually applies to everyone. And this situation really displeased God. And it's not that he needs to be with us, but he wants to be with us for all eternity. So going back to the story, what if the guy told his friend, hey, you know, I killed this kid, but I really messed up. I have a wife and kids to feed. I can't go to jail. I need to take care of them. And then during the trial, the friend stands up and says, Your Honor, I was the one who killed the kid. And then the judge says, okay, you're going to go to jail for the rest of your life. And that's what happens. The friend did this out of compassion. And technically, the crime was paid for in full just by someone else. So the judge was kind of fair in giving a punishment for the crime. And what if I told you that all these things that you've done, that I've done and you've done, can be accounted for and have been accounted for already? So over 2,000 years ago, around 2,000 years ago, God sent someone in this earth that was fully blameless. He was fully God and fully man to die on the cross for everything you've done in the past, all the things you're doing now, and everything you'll do in the future. And God says, and this person was Jesus, who died on the cross for you and for me. And God says, if you admit that you've done wrong and believe that Jesus died for your sins, or died for all the things you've done wrong, then he will forgive you. So going back to the example where I was really offended by this annoying neighbor, when I think about how she offended me and what God has done on the cross for me, how he died for me, it just pales in comparison to what God has done, and I can forgive that lady very quickly. So Colossians 3:13 says, bear with each other, forgive one another. If any of you has a grievance against anyone, forgive as the Lord forgave you. So you guys can repeat after me. I can forgive because God forgave me. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know this God and his forgiveness, I really encourage you to seek that out, because once you really understand how much you are forgiven and how God doesn't hold all these things that you've done against him, against you, then you're able to forgive other people. And that's not to say that it's going to be easy. Like, it'll be really difficult to forgive someone if they don't apologize to you or feel apologetic. But I know that you're able to forgive other people if you are able, or if you experience God's forgiveness. So I have these questions that we're going to go through right now. First question is, as comfortable as you feel, share about a time when someone wronged you. What did they do? Number 2, how did you feel and what did you do? What was the outcome? And number 3, how would the situation be different if you knew that God has forgiven you? So we'll break into a time of discussion and then we can ride to Stinson Beach. All right.
You know him?
Yeah, I ran into him once. He's a pretty cool guy. cool how it's kind of swampy here, and then it's just the beach is right next to it.
Thank you.